Welcome to my channel. This is Tips and Gist on YouTube. If today is your first time, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and make sure that you like this video. Today the discussion is about the increase of proof of funds for students going to Canada next year, beginning January 2024. Yes, the Minister of Immigration, that is IRCC Minister, he made a comment in an interview that they are going to make changes to the student visa. The first one that he said is the increment of the maintenance aspect of the proof of funds. So that is what we are going to discuss today. However, we are going to look at a lot of things. For instance, we are going to look at, as you can see over here, we are going to discuss, the first one is the increment of the maintenance aspect, that is from 10,000 Canadian dollars to 20,635 Canadian dollars. Yes, people are confused. People are asking that, do I need this amount in my bank statement? There's more to it, right? Because this is not the only proof of funds. This is the maintenance aspect. You need your tuition, you need your travel expenses, and if your family members will accompany you to, you need some amount. And so we will go back to the IRCC to learn how to calculate that one too. All right. And again, we are going to discuss the government's decision about the education sector, how they want to protect the student welfare. I'll not go much into that. However, I'll talk about why they want to reduce student visa from next year, September. So if you are seeking to enter Canada, please do it from January to September, because from September, if they bring that policy, it will be very difficult. Even though they are increasing the bank statement, the proof of funds, it shouldn't be a headache for you, right? Because if you stay there till September, it will be worse, because September they're going to add a new policy where they will even reduce the number of visas that they will give. So we watch that video too, and then we will discuss about that. After that too, we are going to look at why now students, there's a temporary measure allowing students to work unlimited hours, and now it has been extended to 30th April 2024. And so currently, because students are in crisis in Canada, they have extended their work hours. You see, every country used to give students 20 hours to work, but Canada has extended that students can work more than 20 hours currently, and they are extending to April 2024. However, from that April going, I'm not sure they're going to extend it again, because by that time, by that time, that new policy of them increasing their bank statements would have been in policy, and that they assume that students coming to the Canada will have enough to support themselves, so they will not need to work unlimited hours again. Yes, so currently, because students are already in crisis over there, that is why they are still extending it, and that is why they are bringing the new measure of them increasing your bank statement. So once they increase their bank statement, that means you don't need to work more than 20 hours again. So they are going to bring it back to the 20 hours from April 2024. And also, we are going to discuss about the extension of postgraduate work permit being phased out, right? They are going to terminate it. You see, currently, when you get a postgraduate work permit in Canada after school, every student is eligible for postgraduate work permit if only the school policy allows you to get it. Not all schools can give you that postgraduate work permit. The DLI institute schools, right? Designated learning institutions, they are able to give you the postgraduate work permit, the PGWP. So there's a policy that if you get the postgraduate work permit, let's say they give you 1 year or 2 year and it expires, you are able to extend it for an additional 18 months. So now they are stopping that policy. That means if you go to Canada and you get that postgraduate after it expires, you have to find your ways to survive, because you cannot extend that postgraduate after it expires. And that is something that we are going to also discuss, the ways and means to change from the postgraduate after it expires, how you can stay in Canada. If you qualify for permanent resident, then you can rather apply for permanent resident. If you don't qualify, then you have to find LMI company. So we will look into that. And yeah, we will look into that. So these are some of the topics we are going to discuss today. These are some of the topics. So the first one is the major topic. I'm going to spend much time over there, right? That is the increment of the maintenance aspect of the bank statement from 10,000 Canadian dollars to 20,000 Canadian dollars. Why? Let us watch the video even before we continue. Let us watch the video.
On January 1st of next year, in 2024, the financial requirement for study permits will be raised to reflect the current cost of living. And as such, a single applicant will need to show that they have $20,635 in funds to support themselves in Canada, moving up from $10,000, as I mentioned in French. Moving to a more accurate cost of living level that helps international students arrive with necessary resources to live and study in Canada. Future increases will be tied to the low income cutoff that Statistics Canada publishes every year, similar to other immigration programs. This cutoff conveys the income below which an individual may be in strained circumstances as they have to spend a greater than average proportion of their income on necessities. Recognizing that students already have to show that they can cover their tuition as well as other travel costs, their cost of living threshold is set at 75% of the low income cutoff rather than 100%, and puts us on par with our competitor countries.
All right, so that is the video that you just watched. So somebody would say that I'm coming to Canada to study. Why do I need such amount? 20,635 Canadian dollars is too much for me. Why do I need that money in my bank account as maintenance? That is the question that somebody will ask. Now, I want you to understand the maintenance aspect of the bank statement, right? The government wants you to get an amount that when you come to Canada, you'll be able to feed yourself, you'll be able to rent, because not every student will be able to work. Even though you'll be working, you are limited to work, right? And the amount of money that you get as a student, you'll be paying your school fees. So they need you to project some amount in your bank statement for them to be convinced enough to be able to give you the visa. And that amount over the past 10 years used to be 10,000 Canadian dollars. Even currently, December, currently as I'm talking, is 10,000 Canadian dollars. So what happened that now they are increasing to 20,635 Canadian dollars? What is the issue, right? So there was a survey, there was a research. They did a research on 180 students, international students in Canada, and they realized that the money that they are having, the money that how they spend in Canada is about twice the money the government expects them to bring. Let me say this into three. So, research, who say international students in Canada, no, sika omudi edidi e Canada, no, times 2 they are buying no expect say famra. It you buying a tram say the whole year over school 1 year, right? We here 10,000 Canadian dollars or chabona to. Then OTT separate, that means that every month they are supposed to spend like 800 Canadian dollars and no rent is be shame. So I'm survey no who say students edibrosa. So if students are consuming more than that, then it means say they are in crisis. Not just a nipa no this amount ne buy no. So odibrosa not just say ne ho be no. Enti na kyerɛ sɛ ɛne sisi ano so wobɛba sika ɛwɔ sɛ wode ba no ɛwɔ sɛ yɛ double no, because momba you mudi brosa, right? Mudi brosa. All right, so that is the first thing. We are going to watch the video of that explanation. We are going to watch the video of that explanation as he said, and we are going to look at the research of the IRCC and the results that they brought on that 180 students. Who say they spend more than they bring to Canada. Now, why are the students spending more than as they bring to Canada? It is because the living expenses in Canada has raised a cost, right? A cost is here. So there's the rise of living expenses everywhere, not only Canada. In the UK, everybody's complaining. So if students bring that amount of money, they cannot spend it. It's not enough for them. That amount of money is not enough for them. They need to spend more. And these students, in order for them to spend more, then you need more in your bank statement. And that is why they are doubling it. That is why now, instead of 10,000 Canadian dollars as maintenance, they are seeking for you to bring 20,635 Canadian dollars. Let us watch the video of the ministers talking about these students' crisis.
That Canada is a top destination for talented students from around the world. International students contribute to campus life and Canada's multicultural spirit in communities across the country and are drivers of innovation. When we welcome international students, we benefit from new ideas and ways of learning and researching coming into our post-secondary system predominantly. However, some of these students have experienced serious challenges navigating life in Canada.
So you heard, he said Canada is a very good place to stay. They welcome international students. However, most of these international students have challenges. They have issues. So where is the issue? What is the issue? Let us go right into this research that they did. So there was a research conducted, right? This is it. After the video, they said, where is the research? Okay. So in September 2023, that is about last 3 months, there was a survey by the Daily Bread Food Bank of 180 international students who visited 4 major Toronto food banks. They found out that the IRCC, the Immigration Refugee Citizenship Canada, estimated living expenses used during the application process is even nearly half of what students in Toronto spend. So that means students in Toronto are spending like twice what it is in their bank statement. And that was what they said. So the Daily Bread said, when asked how their experience in Canada compared to what they are expecting, the respondent noticed that Canada was much expensive than what they thought. So the students were complaining that Canada is expensive than what they thought to be, because now before they can buy food, they need a lot of money to buy food. They need a lot of money for their living expenses. And so that research conducted by the Daily Bread Food Bank in Toronto, they gave that research to the IRCC, and the IRCC realized that, okay, that means that 10,000 Canadian dollars that we asked them to bring is not enough for them. It's not enough for them. So if it is not enough for them, then we have to increase it so that before they even move to Canada, they have enough to spend. So they are putting this in place to help students. That is what the government is trying to do. However, is it pleasant to we Africans? Are we going to be able to raise that 20,635? That is the question for the day. And that is what people are saying. So always, once an issue comes, I want us to dig in to see the genesis of that issue and find solution to it. So as for the government is trying to do something to help students, because students in Canada are complaining that Canada is much expensive than they thought. And that was the report that they gave to the Daily Bread Food Bank on that survey of 180 international students. That was the report. And so they asked them that, okay, when you were coming, you had money in your bank statement, right? You had 10,000 Canadian dollars in your bank statement. So is it not enough for you? And they realized that they spent twice that money. So if you spend twice of 10,000 Canadian dollars, then now you will need 20,635. And that is why the government is changing that 10,000 Canadian dollars to 20,635 Canadian dollars. All right. So now that we know that it is coming in place, it is in place now from 1st January. Students who are moving from 1st January, if you have done your application, your visa application, it does not apply to you, right? This policy will not apply to you if your visa application is in process. However, if you are going to do your application from January next year ongoing, then you have to adhere to this policy. So let us go on the IRCC to learn how to calculate the bank statement using the 20,635 plus the tuition fee plus the maintenance and a whole lot. Let us go on the IRCC and see for ourselves. All right. So this is the IRCC. As you can see, all right, this is the IRCC. And the bank statement, the proof of financial support. A student, at first, currently, a student needs 10,000 Canadian dollars. That is used the student plus 4,000 if you are coming with a first family member, and any additional family member will need 3,000 each. All right. So now we are coming to replace the 10,000 Canadian dollars with their new 20,635 to do the calculation. So from January, if you are building your bank statement, look at the calculation that they did here. So of late, they said if you are coming to Canada, let's say your living expenses is 10,000 Canadian dollars, and you are bringing your wife, that is your first family member, 4,000. Then you are bringing your child, another 3,000. Then you need like 17,000. But don't forget, you need your school fees plus the remaining of the tuition fee and even your travel expenses in addition. Okay, so now let me take you to the let us calculate. Let us make a calculation. So now they said instead of 10,000 Canadian dollars, they expect us to bring 20,635. So let's assume our school fees, our tuition fee. So now this is the maintenance that they are expecting. So if our tuition fee, our school fees is 15,000 Canadian dollars, let us say we are going to do a master program in Canada and we are expected to pay a tuition fee of 15,000 Canadian dollars. Most of the time, some schools expect you to make a contribution or let's say to pay an initial deposit, right? They want you to show a commitment. You have to pay initial deposit. So if the school is charging you 15,000 at the school fees, but they expect you to pay 500 Canadian dollars or 1,000 Canadian dollars way back home before they give you the LOA, the letter of acceptance, right? The letter of acceptance. So the first thing that you have to know is after you make application to a school, you get the admission. Then it will state, this is your school fees. Let's say 15,000 Canadian dollars. Now, before we give you the LOA, you need to make a commitment. You need to pay an initial deposit of, let's say, 1,000 Canadian dollars. You say, okay, then you pay that money to the school. Now, you are owing 14,000, right? You paid 1,000 to the school. You are owing 14,000. So if you are calculating your bank statement, now the maintenance is over there, as you are seeing on the screen, the 20,635. Then you have to add the 14,000 to it. So let us add 14,000 to it. Okay, so plus 14,000, 14,000. Okay, so the 14,000 is just a case study. If your school fees is higher than that, then that means your money will go high. If your school fees is lesser than that, then the money will be less, right? The 14,000 is not a constant figure. It's a case study, right? However, the 20,000 is a constant figure. All right. So that means somebody like that is going to sorry. How do I delete it? Okay. So that means you are going to get 34,635. All right. So 34,635 Canadian dollars. That is not enough. If the student is going to send the wife and the child, right, or the children. Let's say you are going with only your wife. Then your wife will be your first family member. If you don't have a spouse and you're going with a child, then that child will represent your first family member. And that one, you need 4,000 Canadian dollars, as we saw on the IRCC, right? So you have to add additional 4,000 Canadian dollars to that amount. So plus 4,000 CAD, plus 4,000 CAD. That is your first family member. Let's say your wife, or it can be your child, depending on who will join you first in Canada. Okay, so the money is just going up. So this is still not enough. Now, you have to add your travel expenses. So they expect you that the money you will use for plane ticket, because with student visa application, you don't book plane ticket as you do for conference and the others, but they are expecting you to have money to book flight. So they expect it to be in your bank account. So you have to calculate that, okay, my travel expenses, I'm estimating like 2,000 CAD because a plane ticket can take me like 1,500. I'll need to buy some stuffs in my luggage to take to Canada. So you estimate like 2,000 CAD, then you should add that 2,000 to it. So that is the travel expenses. So let's estimate that your travel expenses will be 2,000 CAD. So this is the amount you will need in your bank statement. That is how we calculate the bank statement. That is how we calculate the bank statement. So if you are here and you are seeking to, you don't know the amount you will need in your bank statement, this is how we calculate it. Now, the bank statement, you have to get a 4 months, at least 4 months bank statement. So if you will be applying for the visa in somewhere May, then you have to go and print January, February, March, and April bank statement. Then May, you do the visa application. Because student visa to Canada, you need 4 months bank statement. 4 months bank statement. All right, let us do another calculation. Let us use another case study scenario. So let's say somebody going to do a diploma course, a 2-year diploma course in a college, right? A 2-year diploma course in a college, and the student is expected to pay 15,000 Canadian dollars. Now, the 15,000 Canadian dollars become the entire school fees for the whole 2 years. What about the first year? The first year will be like 7,500. 7,500 for the first year. So that student is expected to show only the first year in the bank account, not the entire school fees, because they'll be schooling more than 1 year, right? So that student is expected to show only 1 year school fees or 1 year tuition fee in the bank account. All right. So if the student is going to do a 2-year diploma course in a college and the entire school fees for the 2 years is 15,000, that means the first year the student is expected to pay 7,500 card. All right. With that 7,500 card, if that school allow you to pay 500 card as initial deposit, that means you owe 7,000 for the first year. So you are only expected to show that 7,000 tuition fee added to the maintenance. The maintenance for January will be 20,635. So in your calculation, yours is going to be 20,20635 plus that 7,000. All right. Then you know that this is what I have now. All right. Now, are you taking your wife? Are you taking your case? Let's say you are single, you don't have a wife, you don't have a kid, then you shouldn't worry about additional expenses. Then you have to add your travel expenses. So estimate like, okay, I need like 2,000 card as my travel expenses, right? Then now you can know that, okay, I need just this amount. So the first one is the maintenance. The second is the remaining of the first year school fees plus the travel expenses. Then you need that I have this amount in my bank statement. I'm going to get the visa. So that is how we calculate the bank account or the bank statement, the money you need in your bank statement. Now, is it only bank statement that you can use to prove funds? No, it's not only bank statement. There are a lot of ways you can prove bank statement. So a lot of people go with scholarship. If you go with a full tuition scholarship, then in the scholarship, let's say you get a scholarship to Canada, the school gives you 100% scholarship. You ask yourself, my scholarship, does it cover the maintenance? Or it's only for tuition? So if they are picking the tuition, then you need the maintenance plus your travel, how do we call it? Expenses. Then that one, you not add your tuition. If the scholarship will cover your tuition plus the maintenance, then you don't even need a bank statement. You just need the scholarship letter. You present it to them. Then that is your proof of funds. So proof of funds is not only bank statement. There are a lot of ways you can prove funds. You can use scholarship. That is why a lot of people go to seek scholarship. So the government scholarship in Ghana, when you go to the government secretariat, right? The scholarship secretariat, they give scholarship to UK, to Canada, US, and a lot. If the government of Ghana is giving you a scholarship, that scholarship comes with monthly stipends. So they give you the tuition fee plus monthly stipends. That means every month the government will be giving you money to feed yourself. So that time, that form of scholarship, you don't need any bank statement because it will cover that 20,000 bank statement that they are talking about. That 20,600 card that they are talking about as maintenance. The government scholarship will cover it. It will cover the school fees and everything. So you will not show a bank statement. That is how it is. There are other scholarship agencies, private scholarship agencies. When they also give you scholarship, they cover everything for you, and then you don't need a bank statement. If you don't get something like that, then you only focus on the school giving you scholarship. Then the school will only waive the tuition fee, but you will still need the maintenance. So you will still be looking at you getting 20,635 plus that travel expenses. That is how it is. All right, so let us go on the IRCC again, back to the Canada visa portal, and look at other documents you can use as proof of funds if you don't have a bank statement. All right, so let us go there right into the IRCC. Okay, so this is the IRCC. Now, proof of funds, proof of financial support. You must prove that you can support yourself and the family members who come with you while you are in Canada. You must prove funds with any of these. So number one, proof of a Canadian bank account in your name if you have transferred the money to Canada. So this is those who are transferring money to Canada. Some people are having Canada bank accounts, so they transfer the money to Canada. That one, if you are able to show a proof, then it will serve as a bank statement. All right. Number two, a guarantee investment certificate, that is GIC, from a participating Canadian financial institution. So if a bank in Canada is able to give you a certificate, the GIC, right, the guaranteed investment certificate, then you can use that certificate as a proof of funds. All right. Now, proof of student or education loan from a bank. You know that some agencies give loans to students, right? Some agencies give loan. I was communicating with a student in Canada, and I wanted more information about one agency who can give you loan. And when you get to Canada, you'll be working and you'll be paying them. So if I get the full details of that agency, I'll come and make a presentation of how you can register. They'll give you a loan, cover everything for you. Then you use that proof of that loan. Yes, Empower. Yeah, Empower. Yes. So after I get to know how it works, I cannot just give you the name because most of you will still tell me how do I register with them. So I want to get full details of how to register and everything and come and demonstrate to you. All right. So if you get an agency like that, the Empower loan, then with their certificate, like with that loan, proof of loan, it will cover your bank statement. Then you don't need any money in your bank account again. All right. If you don't have that, another thing that you can prove your bank statement or your proof of funds is your bank statement for 4 months. That is what I said. So if you don't have a loan from any place, then you have to get money in your bank account and for 4 months bank statement. So let's say from January, February, March, April, 4 months, then you show it to the government, then it is a proof of funds. If you don't have that, then you can send also a bank draft that can be converted to Canadian dollars. So if you have a bank draft that can be converted, that one too, then you can give it to them. Another one is proof you paid tuition fee and housing fees. So let's say per the calculation that we did, right? We did the calculation of you adding the maintenance plus the tuition fee plus the travel expenses. So if you are able to show the government that, see, I've been able to pay all my school fees, and this is the receipt from the school, then in your bank account, you only need the maintenance. Then you have to add the receipt of the tuition fee so that the government can deduct that tuition fee from it, that, oh, you have been able to, most of the time, even if you make full payment of the tuition fee, it reflects in the LOA. When they look at your letter of acceptance, any payment that you have done to the school reflects in. So even with that, they can know that, okay, you have even made payment of the whole school fees. So all you need is the maintenance. So that one, your money in your bank account will be less. It will be only that maintenance. All right. So you can use the proof of paid tuition fee and your housing fee, the hostel fees, as a proof to add it to your other thing. All right. And a letter from a person or a school giving you money. So this is what always we used to say. If the bank statement is not for you, let's say it's for, let me tell you, people who can really use their bank statement. That is your direct parents, your mom, your dad, your legal guardian. Even if it's your mom's sister, they have to get a court affidavit, something that they are your legal guardian. Not, I didn't say your guardian, but your legal guardian, right? So your mom, your dad, and your legal guardian. Apart from that, the government can also give you a sponsorship. That is the scholarship. Apart from that, NGOs, right, non-governmental organizations can also give you scholarship or sponsorship. They can also that one. Apart from that, a church. When I talk about a church, a well-established church, like worldwide church that is recognized worldwide, church that the Canadian government can rely on it. But most of the time, this is cost-named because in Africa, I don't think a church will sponsor somebody, except probably the church. You are a pastor and the church is saying that go and do some religious course and come back. And the church will use their bank account to sponsor you. So when we're talking about people who can use their bank account, that is that. Apart from that, if it is a long distance relationship, if it is a friend, if it is a family member, your uncle, your auntie, you will not be able to prove relationship. So you have to get an affidavit of a gift. So that is why a letter from the person or the school that gave you the money. So if it is somebody who gave you the money, or even your employer, or even a school, like maybe you are in KNUST, you are in Legon, you got first year, a first class, and the school is saying that they are sponsoring your tuition to Canada to go and do master's or PhD, then that school have to give you a letter, a scholarship letter, right? All right. So a letter from a person or a school who gave you the money. So you have to go to the registrar and go and get an affidavit that this is my uncle who is gifting me this amount of money to sponsor my education. Without that affidavit, without that letter, you cannot prove funds. So please, if you are a student and you know that you don't have a bank account, you don't have money in your bank account, and another person is giving you the money, they have to give you a letter. And that letter, not just a normal letter, an affidavit. right? You have to go to the Commission of Oath, let them sign everything, become a legal document. All right. I forgot, your spouse can also sponsor you. So if you are married, your husband can use their bank statement to sponsor you, and that one you prove relationship. So you just have to add your marriage certificate that this is wife. Kwame Nkrumah is my husband, right? And I am the wife. Kwame Nkrumah is sponsoring me, and he's my husband. This is our marriage certificate. That one you don't need any letter. If it's your parents, you can use your birth set. That this is my mom. My mom is Akosia Menu, and on my birth set, Akosia Menu is my mom. And on the bank statement is for Akosia Menu, who is my mom. So that birth set indicates a proof of relationship. It will just tell the government that, okay, this bank account is Akosia Menu, who is not going to the school, but is the mom of that student. And that is acceptable. Your father to the same thing. Your legal guardian too, you use that letter that you got from a court that this person is your legal guardian. But if it is your friend, how are you going to show? If you don't go to do that affidavit, how will you prove to the government that this is my friend? Is there any document that you get when you become friends with somebody? No. Is there any document that you can prove that this is my uncle? No. So I get people saying my uncle want to sponsor me. My uncle, if your uncle want to sponsor you, they have to go and get a letter of affidavit as a gift. They are gifting you because you cannot use your birth set to prove that this is my uncle. Right? So let us know that. All right. So now that you know how to calculate, now that you know how to get your proof of funds, I guess you understand this. So now the whole issue is from January 2024, you will need the maintenance aspect is no more 10,000, but rather 20,635 Canadian dollars. So please, if you are preparing to Canada next year, then make sure that the way you used to get that money initially, you have to double your steps. I'm here to encourage you. I'm not here to scare you. I'm not here to give you that news to scare you. No, I'm here to encourage you. And I'm also here to motivate you, show you how you can be able to derive that amount of money. Because determination, if you have determined that you go to Canada, you will surely go to Canada. You will surely go to Canada. And please, from next year, January intake, May intake, please make sure that you go through that route, January, May. Because from September, the government says that they are going to reduce the number of visas. Let us watch the video and then I will come back.
I announced initial reforms to the international student program, including the development of a new framework to recognize learning institutions that provide top quality services and support, including housing to international students. It would be a mistake to blame international students for the housing crisis, but it'd also be a mistake to invite them to come to Canada with no support, including how to put a roof over their heads. It's why we expect learning institutions to only accept a number of students that they're able to provide for, able to house or assist in finding off-campus housing. In welcoming international students, we have a responsibility to make sure that students are supported when they come to our country. We also want to ensure that international students don't become victims of unscrupulous individuals who offer them inadequate living conditions, sometimes even at inflated prices. Ahead of September 2024, we are prepared to take necessary measures, including significantly limiting visas to ensure that designated learning institutions provide adequate and sufficient student supports as part of the academic experience. In order to achieve this result, it is imperative that we work together with provincial and territorial governments, learning institutions, and other education stakeholders so we can ensure international students are set up for success in Canada. Enough is enough. If provinces and territories cannot do this, we will do it for them, and they will not like the bluntness of the instruments that we use. Our aim is to strike the right balance between welcoming international students and making sure they have all they need and all they need to thrive. I will communicate more on this in due course, but for today, I'm here to announce a few more immediate measures.
So you heard what he said. So from next year, September, they are going to reduce or limit the number of visas, student visas they are going to issue. So let's say this year, if 10,000 people were able to go to Canada, from next year, September, they are going to reduce it. So please, from now to September, if you want to move to Canada through the study route, then this is the best time. And why is the government doing that? The government is saying that the DLI, those institutions, the designated learning institutions, And even the provinces are failing to support students. What is the support? Now we heard that there's housing crisis in Canada. People go there, students go there, they are not getting rent. You go to Canada to even get somewhere to stay. People are just walking about looking for accommodation and they are not getting because of accommodation crisis or rent. But what the minister said is that they cannot blame the students for that crisis. So what they have to do is, if the DLI, you have been given that opportunity to bring international students. So before you pick somebody, before you give admission to somebody, you have to make sure that you are supporting them in terms of housing and everything. So if you are failing, and even the provinces, if you, the provinces and the DLIs, if you are failing to support the students, then the government will step in and reduce the visas. So let us wait. Probably the DLI, the provinces will bring measures to control that. If they are able to say that, okay, now we have housing, students can come, then I'm sure that they are going to amend that policy that they are thinking of implementing from September next year. If not, then that policy comes. That means the number of students that will go to Canada from September 2024 will be reduced drastically. Because as for the government, they don't want you to come there and be stuck. They don't want you to come there and find yourself wanting. They want the best for you. But people in Canada are complaining. Students are complaining. Housing crisis is in Canada. A lot of people are talking about that. And it is not a fault of the students. It is not because a lot of students are there. That is why. Nope. They cannot blame it. That is why the government is saying, I'm not the one saying that. That is why the minister, that was why he said, Mark Miller, he said it in that video, I heard it, that they cannot blame students, but what they will do is they are expecting that the provinces and the DLI, they should do something about it. They should support students. If not, then they will bring their policy. They will step in and bring their policy. I have embedded a link right in this on this YouTube channel, right? Yes, in the caption, I've embedded a link where you can go and read the article, and the full video is in the article too. You can watch the full video. It's in both French and English, so you can watch the English aspect. Now, the last but one thing for discussion is student work hours. Right now, if you are in Canada, because of the crisis, because 10,000 Canadian dollars is not enough for the students as maintenance, the government has given them that liberty to work more than 20 hours. So some are even working 30 hours, some are working full-time 40 hours, because the government know that if they don't extend that, if they don't give them that liberty, they will not get money to feed, they will not get money to pay their remaining school fees. So the government have given them that liberty. However, the government is saying that now from this December, they are still extending it to April. In April, if they realize that those who are coming from next year, January, with that 20,000 Canadian dollars, if it is enough for them, then they are still going to reduce the study, how do we call it? The study time or the student working time to that 20 hours, because the main purpose why students are coming to Canada is to come and study. So let us watch that video and listen to what he said, that the main reason why students are coming to Canada is to study. So if you are coming to study, then you shouldn't work to get tired so that you cannot study. But the reason why that they have allowed you guys is because of the crisis. All right.
I'd also like to update you on 3 temporary policies affecting international students that were set to expire by the end of the year. The main purpose for an international student to be in Canada is to study. However, since most students are currently halfway through their school year and some are working full-time to meet their needs, we will extend the temporary policy that has allowed eligible international students to work more than 20 hours per week through till April 30th of 2024, the end of the academic year. We're currently examining options for this policy in the future, but we know that 40 hours a week is untenable if you're a student, and are looking to potentially expand off-campus work hours for international students up to 30 hours per week while class is in session. Our data shows us that 80% of international students or more work more than 20 hours a week.
All right, so you just watched that video of the minister, right? Mark Miller, that is the IRCC minister. He said that students came to Canada to study, and he's very much worried that students are not getting time to study. They are working full-time, and they have allowed that because there's crisis in Canada. However, with that implementation of the increasing the living expenses, so if you are coming and you have 20,000 sitting in your bank statement, You don't need to go and work more hours like that, so that student can get time to work. So that means from April, if you deduce that from what he said, if you really deduce, then you get to know that from April, I'm not sure that they will extend it. So if you are going to Canada, if you heard them working more hours, then think that from April, probably they might not continue, because that is what he's trying to say, that they need you guys to come and study. So that is the last but one point. And the last point is the postgraduate work permit extension. All right. I want you guys to get this point very much. They are not canceling the postgraduate work permit. No, the PGWP is over there, is there. Once you go with a DLI institutions, when your school is a DLI, you will surely qualify if your course is more than 8 months. That is from 8 months, 9 months going. If you're going to do a short term 6 months, you don't qualify for postgraduate. So as for that one, if you qualify and your school is a DLI, you are going to get it. However, there was this policy that after they give you the postgraduate, you can extend it. So people who used to go to Canada, if you do a 1 year course, you get 1 year postgraduate. If you do a 1 year 6 months, you get 1 year 6 months postgraduate. So people used to do 2 courses at the same time so that they can get 1 year plus 1 year, 2 years, right? But after the 2 years, if the province where you are, you don't qualify for indefinite, or that is what they call the permanent resident. So if you are in a province where you have to work for 3 years to get to the permanent, and they gave you a 2 year postgraduate, you don't qualify for permanent. So what are you supposed to do? And so people didn't know what to do. So the government allowed them to extend it. So they apply for extension, and the government allowed them to extend for 18 more months. And now the government is saying that that extension is going to end December, 31st December. So after 31st December, anybody who gets postgraduate work permit from next year, once your postgraduate work permit is gone, you will not be able to extend it. So now the question is, how are you going to switch? How are you going to be there? Because if by that time you don't qualify for a permanent resident, what are you going to do? Your postgraduate too has expired. What are you going to do? All right, so let me take you back to the IRCC, teach you about the postgraduate, and after that, I'll give you ideas of what to do. If you go there and they give you the postgraduate and get expired, I'll give you the idea of what to do next. All right. All right, so work or live in Canada after you graduate. So you can work, to be able to work after you graduate, you need a work permit. That is why the IRCC says. So I am streaming this from the IRCC, right? The Canada.ca, where we apply for the visas. All right, so they are saying that to work in Canada after you graduate, you need a work permit. The work experience you gain while working may help you qualify for a permanent residence. That is what I am saying, right? So as they give you that temporary work permit after you graduate, that is the postgraduate. With your work experience, you can qualify for a permanent resident. However, in some provinces, you need like 2 years. You need to work for like 3 years, even some 5 years. Canada, they practice that federal governance. So every province, every state, province is like a state in US. So every province has their own time frame or regulations. So some provinces can give you 2 years. That if you stay here, you do active labor for 2 years, you can get. Even I heard that New Brunswick, that province, New Brunswick, active labor for 1 year, they can consider you to a permanent resident. So if you are somebody who go to New Brunswick and you get like a 2 year postgraduate work permit, after that, with your experience, they will just assume you into the permanent resident. But if it is not New Brunswick and it is maybe Toronto or Ontario or any of Saskatchewan, Quebec, or any other place, and it is not according to their rules, then what is the way forward? I've seen somebody saying, what is postgraduate? Yeah, I'm streaming live on YouTube. Yeah, so you guys can join me. I am asking, some people are asking that, how do I even qualify for the postgraduate? So before we look at what to do, let us get knowledge about the postgraduate first, because a lot of people are not even in Canada and they don't know what this postgraduate. So let us see who is eligible for postgraduate and how you can get the postgraduate. All right. So who is eligible for postgraduate? Now, after the school, you may be eligible for postgraduate if you graduated for a DLI school. So please, I used to tell people, if you're applying to a school in Canada, go and look for the DLI, designated learning institutions. You just go any private school in Canada because they say that they will let you pay 500 Canadian dollars as tuition fee. Now when you are happy and you just pay and you are going to Canada. If that school is not DLI, after school, you will not get the postgraduate work permit. So go to the government institutions, the designated learning institutions. They will be able to give you a postgraduate work permit. However, there are some time frame, there are some courses or some things. So graduation from a DLI doesn't automatically make you eligible. There are some eligible eligibility over here, right? All right. So if your program was less than 6 months, then you will not be able. So let us look at something. Where do I get to, where is it? Where is it? Studies outside Canada. Studies. Who can apply? Yeah. Who can apply? So there's a time frame and how many time you get. Let me see. Where I can get that to project for you guys. Eligibility criteria. Okay, so the eligibility criteria is that from September 2023, you see that it has changed, right, to some DLI in Quebec. All right, let us skip that. So you have up to 180 days after you graduate to apply for the postgraduate. So it has to, why is this thing off? Okay, so you have to attend and complete your program first, then the name of the program and the length. So the length also shows. There was somewhere that tell you the length. I got it from their website, and today I'm not seeing that page. Okay, so they tell you that a 1 year postgraduate, you get 1 year. If you do 2 years direct, you get 3 years. However, if you do 1 year, then they add it for you to get 2 years. That is what I wanted to show you, but I'm not seeing it over here. Probably one day, if I see that, I will come and show it to you. Okay, so you let us leave that part and look at how you can extend. Now that you are not extending, right? At first, you can only extend if we tell you can, right? And you can make that extension. And the extension was about 18 months after, right? After 18 months. All right. Now that you cannot extend, now there are two types of postgraduate. That is what you have to see. So even the postgraduate fee is this. And if you apply online, it takes 130 days for you to get it. If you apply paper, it takes 17 days for them to approve that for you. Okay, I think this is where it is. So this is what I was saying. So if your program is less than 8 months, right, or 900 hours for Quebec credentials, then you don't qualify. You don't qualify for a postgraduate work permit if your program is less than 8 months. That is why I always say, if you're going to Canada, please go and do a program that is from 8 months going, right? 8 months, 9 months, 1 year program. So certificate programs qualify you, diploma programs qualify you. So you can see, if you are choosing, don't go and do a 6 months certificate course. You will not be eligible. If the program is 8 months but less than 2 years, if the program is 8 months but less than 2 years, then they may give you the postgraduate work permit that is valid up to the same length of your study program. For example, if you completed a 9 months program, then they will give you a 9 months work permit. So that is how they calculate it. So if your program is within 8 months to 2 years, so it can be 9 months, it can be 10 months, it can be 12 months, that is 1 year, it can be 18 months, that is 1 year, 6 months. So within 8 months to 2 years, any program that you do, they look at the duration of that program and they give you the exact time for the postgraduate. That is how Canada calculates its program. So what people used to do is when they go, they register 2 programs and they'll be doing it at the same time. So somebody can be studying this program and that program that same time, so that within 1 year they graduate and they have certificate of 2 programs and they're able to apply. Then they get 1 year for this program, they get 1 year for this program, they combine and they get 2 years. So that is what people have been doing. You can do that combination to extend your postgraduate. All right. If you do a straight 2-year diploma course, if you do a 2 years, straight 2 years diploma course, then they'll give you 3 years. Then they give you 3 years. Okay. So if you do a straight 2-year diploma course, then they give you 3 years direct. 3 years direct. Also 2 years or more. If you do 3 years, they still maintain the 3 years. If you do 4 years, they still maintain 3 years. So it's from 2 years or more. So I used to tell people that if you're going to Canada, don't do a course more than 2 years. Don't go and worry yourself. Do 3 years, do 4 years. What? It's a waste of money and waste of time, right? Do 1 year, 2 year, 1 year, 2 year, 1 year, 2 year, so that you can really enter into their labor market and start working very fast. Because even if you do 4 years, they will still give you a 3 years. If you do 3 years, they will still give you a 3 years. If you do 2 years, they will still give you a 3 years. So why are you going to do 4 years? Somebody will do 2 years, graduate, get a 3 years postgraduate, start working, and get into a permanent resident. And that time you are now coming to graduate from school. It's a waste of time and money. All right. Another one too is if you complete more than one program. If you complete more than one program, then they may add. So you can see we may be able to get a postgraduate that combines the length of each program. That was what I said. So if you do more than one program, let's say you do 2 programs and each is 1 month, 1 month, and 1 year, 1 year, or but you have to note that any of that program should be more than 8 months, as I said. So the first program, let's say you do a diploma, a certificate in nursing for a 1 year, and that same time you are doing probably certificate in care assistant. That same time, you get certificate in that nursing, certificate in care assistant. You'll be able to combine 1 year plus 1 year. They give you a 2 years, as I said. So that is how they calculate the years. All right. Now let us go back and look into the types of work permit after school. All right. So there are 2 types of work permit. As I said, the postgraduate work permit, that is very common for students. So a lot of students use the postgraduate work permit. And there is also other types of work permit. So if you are not eligible for postgraduate, what are you going to do? This is for students who go to the private school. Let's say mistakenly you go to a private school, and after school, the school will tell you that we are not a DLI. You don't qualify for postgraduate. What are you going to do? Then you have to go for and look for other work permit. Let's say you go to, even if the school is a DLI and you go and you don't do that duration of course. Let's say your course is 7 months or 6 months or 5 months. Then after that, you don't qualify, right? Because of the duration. So then you have to look for other work permit. So if there are other work permits, then now this issue of them canceling the postgraduate extension, then I'm coming to bring you here. So, right, if somebody don't qualify and they are able to look for other work permit, then you, after getting the work permit, if your work permit expire and you don't qualify for a permanent resident, then you have to go and look for that other work permit and at least work for 1 year so that your duration will be okay. Then you can qualify. So if you are in a province and the province is saying, hey, in our province, you have to be in the active labor for 2 years before you qualify for a permanent resident. So right after school, you did a 1 year master course and they gave you a 1 year postgraduate. After the 1 year, you cannot extend the postgraduate. You go for a permanent resident to stay in Canada. They say, no, you've done only 1 year. You've worked only 1 year. So you have to be able to work additional year. Then you have to go and look for the other work permits, right? So the other work permits is for those who cannot extend, those who do not qualify for the postgraduate. All right. So what are the other work permits? Example is the labor market impact assessment, the LMI work permit, that a lot of people are looking for it, right? So once you are in Canada, once you have gone to school in Canada, you have Canadian certificate. You've even able to work there because right after school, you got a postgraduate, you've worked for 1 year, you have 1 year experience in Canada. You even have experiences when you were a student, you were working. So you have a lot of work experience in Canada. It will be easier for you to get LMIA. So quickly, if you cannot extend your postgraduate, if you cannot expand it, then you have to look for LMIA job. You have to apply for LMIA. Then they give you LMIA document. Then you can apply for the actual work permit instead of the extension of the postgraduate that they are coming to cancel. This is also for those who go to school and your school is not a DLI. If you go to a private school, then please, you have to note that right after school, as for you, you don't even qualify for postgraduate. So right after school, about graduating, you start looking for LMIA. Then you can switch to the work permit very fast. Either than that, if your study permit expire, you are that. You become illegal. You become illegal. So that is the other type of work permit. A critical example is the how do we call it? the LMIA. Another type of work permit is also the piloting program and the express entry. You can hover to the express entry. If already in Canada, you can get into the pool. So with the express entry, they ask you, have you graduated from a Canada school or a foreign school? So you would take, I graduated from a Canada school, and that gives you some points. Then they'll ask you, do you have work experience in Canada and even work experience in Ghana? You say yes. So you take for Canada because that time that you were a student, you were working in Canada. So you have work experience in Canada. And when you were in Ghana, you had work experience. When you were in Nigeria, you had work experience. So you get a lot of CRS score. Your credit score will be higher in the pool. So you can even get a pilot program or the express entry, and that will be able to get you into a permanent status. So that is also another way to stay in Canada after school, if they implement that policy of you not extending your postgraduate. But if you're already in Canada and your graduate visa, your postgraduate will expire in this December, please renew it before January. Otherwise, you cannot extend. All right. So this ends my presentation for today. I have covered the changes about the students who will be coming to Canada next year from January, the salary, the maintenance, right? The maintenance aspect of the financial proof of funds is increasing from 10,000 Canadian dollars to 20,635 Canadian dollars. I did that. I did a presentation on that. I explained how you can get the money, different ways to prove bank statement, and even how to calculate the money that you have to get in the bank statement. We did that. And we also covered about reason why they even increased from that 10,000 to 20,000. I made mention that students are complaining of living, how Canada is now expensive. So out of that survey that they did, out of that research, they were able to come to a conclusion that let us increase the maintenance. Then after that, we also looked into they extending the how do we call it? The work hours to next year April. So from now to next year April, students can still work more than 20 hours, even if they are still in school, right? Because of the crisis. But from April, they may not consider to extend it. And we also looked about September, they reducing the visas. So I encourage you guys and I advise you guys that if you want to move to Canada, move now till September, because from September, the government is saying that they will reduce the visas that they issue every year from September 2024. And the last one that we said is the postgraduate work permit extension being faded out. That means you cannot more extend it. And I gave you options how you can survive. And I told you that you have to enter either the LMIA or the pilot program or the express entry. And so now, our daily evening studies. Yesterday we did a conference visa. I taught you guys how to apply. Last 3 days we started with the conference visa, and yesterday we completed it. This evening we are going on a lot of websites to learn how to book conference. Then we add it to that knowledge so that we can be able to use conference to enter Canada. Subsequent days, we are going to look into how to apply for a tourism and visa and even a family invite. If you have a family member in Canada, I'm going to teach you how they can write the invitation letter. So if your family member is having issues of writing the invitation letter, I'm going to teach you. Then you teach them, then they write to you so that you can move to Canada using a visitor visa route under the family invite. And the tourism too, I'll teach you how to book tourist attraction centers in Canada and apply for tourism, the visitor visa using the tourist route to enter Canada. And right after that, then we get to the work permit. And under the work permit, we are going to look at the LMIA jobs. So we go to Job Bank, we learn how to create a Job Bank account. We learn how to apply for Job Bank jobs. Then as we are waiting for the employers to respond to us, we learn how to apply for the work permit. Right after that, I take you to the express entry and teach you how you can enter the pool and also be considered, get an interview or a nomination. Then you get to Canada under a permanent resident status, and also teach you about the piloting program where you can get nomination from a province. It's similar to the express entry. The difference is with the piloting program, you have to find a job in a remote area, in a village where people do not want to go, right? If you get a job in a remote area, in a village, so there are some communities, 6 communities that qualify. So if you find a job in those communities or that provinces, then they give you a provincial nomination. The first is you get a job offer, then you get a provincial nomination that you can now apply for the pilot program. Then you get a so how do we call it, a work permit, but you move as a permanent resident. All right, that is that. So after that, then I go back to the student. right? So when I get to this, how to apply for the study permit, I'm going to talk about how to even apply for Canada schools. So these sections will be for every afternoon, every evening, our evening sections, not every day, right? For example, tomorrow I'll be going to work. So tomorrow I'm not sure I'll come live on YouTube, but you have to always follow me on YouTube and get my videos to watch every evening, education, and you'll be able to do your visa and move to Canada with ease without any agent. Those other countries watching me, sometimes I do videos in my local language if I feel like doing that. So if you come and it's my local language, don't worry, you have to do your own research. That will go against you guys because majority who support this channel is from Ghana, and sometimes they prefer I speak my local language so that they can really comprehend. So if you come and speak in my local language, you don't have to bore, right? You have to rather support me so that one day I know that, okay, other countries are supporting me. And so I have to do it all in English. All right. Right after that, we will learn how to apply for Canada schools and colleges. I'll give you some universities that offer full-time scholarship, partial scholarship. And as I promised you, we are going to look at that Empower loan, right? Because not every student can get scholarship. So we look at how to register with the Empower and get their loan, move to Canada, and you start paying whilst you're in Canada. Then we learn how to the study permit. Then we are done with Canada. All right. After that, we are moving to US. US, we start with the B1, B2 visa. That is the business visa and the visitor visa, right? The B1, B2 visa. So I teach you how to fill the DS-160 form. And after that, we go to the F1 visa, the M1 visa, and the J1 visa. F1 for academic courses, M1 for vocational, and the J1 for exchange programs. And these are all student visas, right? So you're going to fill the form I-20. I'm going to teach you how to fill the form I-20 when we get to America. And there's another visa coming, right? You've heard the H-1B visa and the H-2B visa. I know much about the H-1B, but not much about the H-2B visa. I'm still doing research. So if by that time I have much knowledge about those visas, I'm going to also treat that. Then we learn how to fill a DS-260 form. I'm not going to teach you how to apply for jobs in Canada, US, because I don't have much links over there. You know, it's very difficult for you to get a job to go to US when you are in Ghana or Nigeria or in Africa, right? That is why you have to use other route to enter. So as for the work, I will not be able to teach you for Canada. All right. So all these are for my afternoon studies, right, on YouTube and Facebook, on Twitter, and sometimes TikTok. But TikTok, you just hear my voice. So anytime you see me speaking and I'm not looking through my mobile phone, but I'm looking straight to my laptop, you have to note that I am projecting. And so quickly you have to come on YouTube and experience better because we are on the website. If I'm doing TikTok live, you see me looking through my mobile phone. But if you see me talking through the microphone, that means I am on YouTube or Facebook. So you have to just go and search Tips and Gist on YouTube, Facebook, subscribe, and you join us and look at whatever we are doing. Now, our afternoon sections are for trending news and news that pop up, right? So just like today, there's a news just pop up yesterday and I have to come and do a presentation. These are for afternoons. If we don't have afternoon news and if I don't go to work and I'm in the house and I am free, then about the nurses and the midwives, I told you that I have a special presentation for you guys, how you can move to UK through you registering with the NMC, writing your CBT and IELTS, looking for NHS jobs that will give you a COS. You move and you come. You see, now carers cannot bring their dependents as they are anticipating. If they should implement that proposal, a lot of people will not be interested in the care job again. And so you as a nurse, you as a midwife, NMC is calling you. NHS, you send your husband and your children. It doesn't cover NHS people. So why don't you use the NHS route if you are an SME? I know the IELTS is not easy to write, but I did a presentation on the IELTS. And by now, if you watch that presentation, you get your materials, you sit in your room and you learn for like 1 month. Then you look for external teachers to also teach you 1 month in addition. You go and write, you are going to pass. Even if you don't pass your first time, the following month you register, you are going to pass because you already have experience. Open your bro. If you want to enter, you have to struggle. Life itself is a struggle. So if you think that it is easy, I want to enter UK easily, Forget. If you struggle and you get it, you are able to pass your IELTS, you register with UK NMC, you write your CBT, you come to UK and you laugh. You will not go through all this kind of care job issues, blah, 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 COS, people selling it to you, blah, blah, blah. No, 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 no. If you are a nurse, you're a midwife, you're a nurse associate, all these people, nurse assistant, 2 years, 2-year certificate nurses, you all qualify for NMC, please. So I have a section for you guys that I'm going to teach you, and that will be afternoon basis when there are no trending issues. And when I'm free, I don't go to work and I'm free, I'll just be teaching you the nurses and the midwives. And I also teach you how to go to Canada. US, how to go to US. And that is going to be for only the diploma nurses and degree nurses, not midwives, not certificate nurses, please. You people can also look at Ireland, right? UK and Ireland, the certificate and the midwives. But as for US, it is only for the degree nurses and the diploma nurses. And I'm going to also teach you how you can register with some of the nursing bodies in America and go and write your NCLEX. Now, NCLEX, you can write some in Canada. South Africa is now a visa free. So you can write some in South Africa. So it will be very easy for you to go and write your NCLEX and pass. You can even use agencies like the Avant and the other agencies, but you have to know that the process is very long if you use those agencies. And it will cost you when you get to US, they are going to deduct you for some number of years. So people don't like using agencies. They want to get to America and enjoy their salary. So they want to crack their brain, write their exams, pass and go, right? That is what they want to do. All right. And as for Canada, if I would teach about nurses to Canada, it will only be for degree nurses, because as a diploma nurse, you cannot go to Canada using your diploma. So Canada too, it will be limited to only degree nurses to Canada. Right after that, Germany also need 500,000 nurses. But currently, you have to pass their language, the B1 language. So I'm going to teach you guys how to register the job seeker visa. I taught you the job seeker visa. So I'm going to teach you guys how to maneuver your way to get to Germany, because they need nurses. And from next year, March, they are going to add certificate nurses. So when we get to Germany, nurses, midwife, certificate nurses, that 2-year programs, you can all go to Germany. But don't forget that you still have to meet their language requirement until June. From June next year, they are going to waive that program, that language, and that you can enter with IELTS band 5.5 and above. So you can go and write IELTS score band 5.5 and enter Germany and go and practice as a nurse, as a midwife over there through the job seeker visa. And they are going to give you, how do we call it, an opportunity card and a blue card, right? A blue card. All right. So that is that for my nurses every afternoon. All right. So I will end here, and I'm very tired. I'll not be able to pick questions on YouTube and on TikTok. Another time in the evening, I'll bring the presentation about how to book Canada conferences. Bye-bye.